Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Centennial High School. It's a beautiful morning to celebrate peace, don't you think?
Yeah.
Very good. Beautiful campus, beautiful day. So glad to have so many of you here with us. I'm Danielle Airy. I'm the Peoria Unified School District's Chief Communications Officer, so it's my pleasure to welcome you here with us this morning as we celebrate the International Day of Peace. And no better place to do so than here with this backdrop of our beautiful Peace Bowl here on the Centennial High School campus. So I'm going to take us through a few introductions. I'm also going to move us along through the program this morning. We have some incredible speakers, performers for you this morning, and I want to make sure that we can celebrate all of them. And we want to also make sure, I know you're a little warm, hopefully got the program doubles as a fan, so we did that intentionally for you this morning. But I would like to introduce a few individuals that we have in attendance with us today. So pleased to have from the Peoria City Council, Council Member Michael Finn here with us today. Mr. Finn, thank you for being here. From the Peoria Unified School District Governing Board, Mrs. Kathy Connect is with us today. Overseeing our school here, Mr. John Croto, one of our executive directors for the Peoria Unified School District. Another executive director here with us today, Mrs. Linda Pallas Thompson. And our wonderful hosts today here with us, Mrs. Chris Lopez-Lear, principal of Centennial High School. Prepared all of this for you, so thank you so much, Mrs. Lopez-Lear, for hosting us this morning, for your incredible students that were here to welcome us. Those were students from our Interact Club handing you our programs, and we're going to hear a lot more about the impact that they have on this campus here in just a little bit. Well, you'll also notice, and I'll draw attention, many of you may have signed the poster that we have up here. Before you leave today, make sure that you come by, sign this, and I'm told, important directions here, only sign if you're a champion of peace. So that's an important part. Stop by, sign the poster. I expect that is all of you that have joined us here today. So I want to thank you so much for being here. This is all possible, really, thanks to an incredible partnership that we are so fortunate to have with our Rotary Club here in Peoria. And it's such an honor, it's such a pleasure to have them in our community, to have their support, not just here at the Centennial High School campus, but with so many of our campuses across the district. And it really does take a village to do what it is that we do here in public education, and we couldn't do it without a supportive community. So our heart and thanks go out to the Peoria Rotary Club, and here on behalf of the Rotary Club we are also pleased to have past president Chuck Fitzgerald, and it's my honor to introduce him to you today.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle. I'm honored to be here. Again, my name is Chuck Fitzgerald, and I'm a member of the Peoria Rotary Club. There are two clubs here in Peoria. I'm with the Peoria Club. There's another one called Peoria North, and they're represented here today. George, thank you for coming today. My wife and I, Susan, who's here today, have lived in Peoria since 1992, and our son went to this school. Now, he had a real close relationship with the principals here, but I won't get into that today. So in 1981, the United Nations, by unanimous vote of its membership, and you can imagine that doesn't happen very often, proclaimed September 21st the International Day of Peace. And so this is roughly the 36th year of that designation. And this year's theme set forth by the United Nations is Together for Peace, Respect, Safety, and Dignity for All. And so last year at this date, we had a similar gathering here, and we dedicated this space right here. We call it a peace space, and we did that in order to create space to explore peace and to integrate this into the learning experience of students here on the campus. So that's the purpose of this space here behind us. And so my club, the Peoria Club of Peoria, the Peoria Rotary Club, let me get that right. It's like 135 other clubs in Arizona, and it's like 34,000 other clubs around the world, and that is, we're dedicated to the pursuit of peace, but we all do it in various ways, right? There are lots of ways to pursue peace. For instance, there's actually a Rotary Day at the United Nations. there are also Rotary clubs that come together to put on peace conferences, one of which we'll have here in the West Valley in the spring. So you'll be hearing more about that. But our club in particular kind of focuses on two things when it comes to peace. There's lots of things, and we dabble in a lot of them, but there are two that we focus on. You know, so when we in Rotary, we're called Rotarians. If we talk about global causes like fighting disease, saving mothers and children, providing clean water, sanitation and hygiene, supporting education, or building local communities, what we're really saying is we're pursuing peace. And the reason we say that is this is that first component, service. We believe that every time you serve someone else, it's an act of peace. Have you heard that before? Have you thought about that before? Every time you serve someone else, every time you act outside of yourself, every time that you put service above self, that's the Rotary motto, by the way, you're creating peace in a small way or in a big way. So that's the first component. You know, and we believe there's a big difference between being a peace lover and a peacemaker. All right, if you thought much about that, I don't know if you have, but there's a big difference. We'd like to challenge you to be more than a peace lover. In fact, we brought a peacemaker with us here today, and you're going to hear from a Rotary Peace Scholar here in a few moments who I like to dub as peace in action. And so you'll get a flavor of what peace in action can look like. So the second component that our club is particularly interested in is leadership and character development. All right, so that's the idea of peace starting within, happening within, and it flows out of that, right? And so leadership and character development is a big part of what our club does. We do a number of things. We have an Interact club, a Rotary club right here on this campus, and we're going to hear from President Lauren here in a few minutes about what her thoughts on peace. We also do things like, you know, we have international exchange programs where students can be immersed in another culture. Guess what? That creates peace, doesn't it, when there's that understanding between cultures? We have leadership camps and seminars. We do a variety of things. And the whole idea behind this leadership and character development is peace is an inside job first, right? It's not an outside job first, it's an inside job first. And we really believe that. And so once we get our inside kind of right, then the outside stuff kind of flows from us naturally. So that's our thought on peace. And I mentioned just briefly earlier, there will be a peace conference for our community. It'll be here in the West Valley. We believe the date's going to be May 31st. We're working out the details on it. So stay close to us and you'll hear about that. But that's a way of inviting the rest of the community into that conversation around peace. And not just the two things our club's involved in, but what are the other aspects of peace? You know, other things, practical things you can do to promote peace around the world. Here in Peoria and throughout Arizona, Rotary is a local web of community leaders. That's kind of how we look at it. It's this web of community leaders who care about their communities and they come together to solve problems, right? But Rotary is more than just local, it's also global. It's a global web of community leaders as well. And that global web, you know, just the internationality, if you will, of Rotary, just on its own is a mechanism of peace. Just the fact that we're international, and you know, we have our club here has projects with clubs all over the world, and every club has projects all over the world. That's creating peace, even though we may not live there or go there. We do that with other clubs in other parts of the world. So Rotary being international is just about peace. It truly is. So another thing that the global thing does is it allows us to do really big things. It's tough to do big things when you're one person, right? But when you come together, you can do really big things. For instance, polio is almost gone. And you can thank Rotary and its partners for that. You know, our belief is by this date next year, polio will be gone. No one else will ever get polio. And yeah, amen. That's an applause right there. And that's because we're this global web of community leaders, and we came together to do something really big. So if that sounds like something you want to be a part of, if you want to be a part of something local and global at the same time, If you view yourself as a problem solver, talk to us about that. Each of you may have gotten a card like this. If not, they'll be handed out to you. It has information on how to get a hold of us. We'd love to talk to you about how that looks. And so with that, I think I'm going to sit down for a few minutes. And so again, I want to thank all of you for joining us here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chuck. And I mentioned our Interact Club here at Centennial High School. You heard Chuck mention our Interact Club, but I think it's important to note that our students who are involved in the Interact Club have wonderful models to follow by the Rotarians in our community. And I might ask, could our Rotarians who have joined us today stand so that we could give them a round of applause? Thank you so much. And one other group that I do want to call out, and you certainly couldn't miss seeing them here seated in the audience and certainly around our event today, those who are helping to support and enhance peace in our community. We are so fortunate to have the incredible support of the Peoria Police Department. We have a number of them here, as well as Chief Roy Minter, who have joined us today. So thank you so much to your officers and to you, Chief, for all you do for us. Well, we are beyond thrilled to have a student here, no better, to be sharing a message of peace with us than a student right here from Centennial High School. Please give a very warm welcome to Lauren Lucas, the president of the Centennial High School Interact Club.
Thank you for attending our 2017 International Peace Day recognition. Our theme this year is Together for Peace, Respect, Safety, Dignity for All. Together for Peace, Respect. Here at Centennial High School, we believe as a community, we all have the responsibility in creating a culture of achievement through Coyote Pride. Our student responsibility, our body embraces a code of ethics, honor, integrity, and excellence. The peace pool here before us represents the peace throughout the world, individual nations, and cities. Author Robert Fulgham writes, "Peace is not something you wish for. Peace is something you make, something you are, something you do, and something you give away." This quote helps us realize that to achieve peace, we must work at it. I am proud to be a part of the Centennial student body where we embrace the change to be our best, to unite our community and promote peace. It was an honor to speak here before you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for that message of peace. We appreciate you, and it sounds like you're doing an incredible job here for Centennial High School. Well, Mr. Fitzgerald also mentioned an incredible keynote address that we get to hear today, and I'm going to share just a little bit about our speaker. I only had a quick opportunity to meet him, but I could already tell that he is peace in action. Dr. Christopher Zambakari is a South Sudanese American who immigrated to the United States in 2001 as a refugee from Sudan. In 2013, he was sponsored by the Sun City West Rotary Club, District 5490, and awarded the Rotary Peace Fellowship to study peace and conflict resolution at the University of Queensland in Australia. It's such an honor to have him here with us today to share a message about peace. A round of applause, please, for Dr. Zambakari.
Wow. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Distinguished Rotarian, Peoria PD, the Peoria School Unified District, thank you guys for having me. I love this sort of events, and I was telling Chuck earlier, this is a unique model, if you will. It's a unique thing to see Rotary so embedded and working with high schools and younger students on sort of embedding the institutions of peace at an early stage. A lot of time people think that you need to wait until people are all grown up, they're at the university, to start working on issues of peace. I think this is actually the model to go. It's if you're exposed to it early in life, if it is in your curriculum, the peace curriculum, not all schools have that, you're exposed to it, then you embody it, and when you grow up, a lot of time you've been working on peace for a long, long time. So it's an honor for me to be here, and over the next few minutes, I want to share with you three things. A little bit about myself, the Peace Fellowship, and how those two things are connected to the pursuit of sustainable peace, and some of the work that Rotary's been doing. So I think we can all agree that if you turn on the TV today, any day, the newspaper, turn on the radio, you hear about violence in distant places, whether it's Southeast Asia, or it's in the Middle East, it's Africa, or it's Venezuela. It doesn't really matter. It just seems like violence just dominates the news these days. And it's not entirely incorrect to say that it's a massive problem on a global scale. As we speak, the UN General Assembly just concluded, and the subject of peace was a pillar in all discussions. Last year, the world spent about, I'll say, 13% of the global GDP was spent on what experts call violence suppression activities. Everything that goes on to containing violence costs money, and a lot of money, right? So violence costs a lot of money, and I like to tell people that it doesn't really matter where you go, whether it's in Africa or it's even here. If bombs are dropping in a village, you're not going to have a lot of time to immunize children. You're not going to have time to build schools or whatever it is you want to do. I like what Chuck said earlier. Peace is within before it is without. And it's among the Rotary causes, as he was citing them earlier, there are 6 of them. Peace is one of them. But I always tell people that one sort of underscore the rest of them, right? Because you need peace to work with mothers. You need peace you need stability and peace to build wells if you're in the water and sanitation projects. Without peace, it makes everything else very complicated. Last year, the United Nations also published a report that said we have the single largest displaced population since the end of World War II. Think about it for a second. Right? World War II, and today, 2017, last year when the report came out, 2016, the single largest displaced population. They were really referring to refugees. 65 million people are refugees. If you put them all together and sort of form a country, they'll be the 20th largest country in the world. And that doesn't include what the Internal Displacement Monitoring Center calls disaster-induced displacement. That's another 20 million people. Right? For a good example, I think closer to home, think of Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and what it's done and left behind. They call that disaster-induced displacement because it forces people out of the way. And there's more, right? There's droughts and desertification, something that Rotary has been working on quite a bit. And it also displaces people. So, interesting time. Wherever I go, everywhere I speak, I tend to bring this figure up because I think we need to look at it, wake up in the morning, ask ourselves, what can we do to make sure that this number can sort of go down? Because it's not helping anybody if this number just every year it gets bigger and bigger. Right behind me, there is a quote by Robert. I think it's Robert. About what's peace? And I think Chuck went over that earlier.
I think Lauren.
And she also went over that. I really like it because it reminded me of another quote, another maxim, if you will, of peace. Blessed are those that work for peace. It always sort of surprises me that it never said, blessed are those that wish for peace. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how much wish you project in the study of peace. The only thing that matters is what you do on the ground. Work, right? And if you're working for peace, then you're furthering peace. But if you sit back, you kick back, and you ask yourself, well, I'm wishing for peace, then it doesn't really do much. Tell that to somebody in Syria or Somalia or anywhere that is consumed by violence, that you're just wishing them peace. They would rather you actually do something concrete, right? I'm also reminded of a difficult time in the African continent, the 50s and 60s. This was the decolonization era. And Frantz Fanon, who was a Martinician psychoanalyst, spent a lot of time. He left Martinique and left the French and moved to Africa to help some of the African countries gain independence. Speaking to young African leaders, he told them, every generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. Think about it, right? So there's yesterday's generation, then there's today's generation, right? Yesterday's generation has done all they could, and then it's now up to the young generation. Why this is so important? Because what you're doing, you're producing the tomorrow's generation, tomorrow's leaders. Something that Rotary has been doing for a very long time. And thanks to Beth, who's here, who sent me a lot of very good material on the Rotary financing project. 194 million. Rotary has spent for the last few years $194 million on the 6 causes: disease prevention, education, and peace and conflict resolution. So I was a recipient of the Peace Fellowship in 2013, as you heard earlier. So I was based in Brisbane, in Australia, for part of the time. The academic component was in Australia, and then the applied field component was in Germany. So you could choose anywhere in the world except the country where you came from. So I chose Germany. I've always been fascinated with Germany. Having spent, I'll say, the last 15 years either in conflict countries or running away from conflict or working on conflict, it always struck me how Germany, if you've ever visited Berlin, anybody here visited Germany? The city of Berlin was utterly demolished. Like 90% of it was ruined. If you go today to Berlin, you will not believe that this city once lay in ruin. So there is that, and then the German reconciliation with the rest of Europe, in fact the rest of the world, was quite outstanding. Reconciliation is something I work on a lot. And you can look around the world, you find few cases of very good reconciliation and more cases of just bad reconciliation, where people kind of pretend they reconcile, and then when pressure mounts, they go right back to fighting. So I was in Germany, and I was based in a division called the MENA division, the Middle East and North Africa division. And my job was basically to support the foundation, the German foundation, funded by the German Foreign Ministry on its work in the Middle East and North Africa. So I did a lot of analysis for them and supporting the division in how it was dealing with different stakeholders in the Middle East and North Africa. Went back to Australia, then came back to Phoenix. Then I founded a consulting firm that does nothing but work on sustainable solutions to intractable problems. In fact, at the end of the month, we're going to be presenting one of our studies that we've been working on for the past year between us here, the University of Illinois, and the U.S. Naval War College, looking at UN track record in protecting civilians in conflict zones. Very big study. So I've always been driven by finding solutions to issues of violence, because violence it was one of those things that kind of just stayed my entire childhood consumed by the problems of violence, right? So, and today it's a huge pleasure for me to spend my time, my academic degrees, my energy finding a solution to the problems of violence. I'll leave you one story, one of my favorite stories. They say that in Africa, every morning, a gazelle wakes up and it must outrun the fastest lion. And if it doesn't do that, it will not survive. And the same day, the lion wakes up, it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve. But it doesn't really matter whether you're a lion or a gazelle. When the sun rises, you better be running, right? So if we're going to make the world a better place, I think we should take a cue from that story. And when the sun rises, we better get to work, because the world needs it. Thank you.
Well, that was inspiring. Get running. I love it. I love it. Get running. We have work to do. We can do it better together than we can do it individually. So collectively, I know we can make an impact. And thank you for those words of inspiration today. At this time, if you can focus your attention, we've got some students here to perform with you today. They're under the direction of Miss Kate Manasco, the instructor here from Centennial High School. So please welcome Daniel Hosen, Noah Gannon, and Jamie Caldwell. so much. I know we got to enjoy some of your tunes as we were coming in today as well. So thank you, students, and Miss Manasco. We appreciate you. At this time, please welcome up Mrs. Linda Pallas Thompson. As I shared, she's our executive director here at one of them in the Peoria Unified School District, but she has an exciting announcement on behalf of both Rotary and the Peoria Unified School District to share.
Thank
So
you.
welcome.
Good morning, and I see Dr. Stifler, you're here. Thank you for being here. I know you're running from place to place, so thank you. Good morning. It is my pleasure to be here, and it sounds very trite, but after listening to Lauren and Christopher, you know that the future is in good hands. And when you get to be in my age, it's nice to know that. So thank you for all of that. I want to start again by thanking my friend, Centennial High School Principal, Chris Lopez-Lira, for just making this happen. Kathy Fitzgerald, you don't get thanked enough. Thank you so much. Our secretary and our person who leads and guides and has a commitment to doing all wonderful things. To the wonderful Rotarian, Chuck Fitzgerald, I just respect you so much for your vision, your expertise, your tenacity. Bringing in this district our peace initiative, it's really something very, very special for us here. I am excited, Danielle, to share with you that we have really super news that the new Peace Pole initiative will be starting at 5 of our schools due to the Peoria Rotary Club, Chuck Fitzgerald, our district maintenance, our principals, and the leadership teams of 5 of our schools. So we are very excited about this project. I have here Dr. Robert Benson, Foothills principal. That's one of our schools. And Rob will tell you all about how we're going to be tweaking this project. Darren Schoolcraft from Sundance. Darren, thank you, assistant principal. Did I see Jeff Wooten? I do. Jeff, thank you for getting over here. Jeff, Kellis High School. Tony Vining, assistant principal. Tony from Cactus High School. And my buddy, Principal Van Setka from Ironwood High School. This team has been working collaboratively week upon week, and I know Tony said, "You're doing the Peace Pole project again?" When he leaves his school. And yes, to create this next generation of Peace Pole initiatives, which will not only be places like this, where people go to reconcile or remember or celebrate, but also where people can enjoy a spot that is artistically beautiful and unique. And we're very excited about this next project. I need to tell you that today is particularly special to me because it is the first day of Rosh Hashanah, year 5778 on the Hebrew calendar. And as I went to temple last night and listened to the shofar, that's the ram's horn, not nearly as beautiful as what you're blowing there, Daniel. I realized that being here today to kick off my holiday is the right place to be. It's most fitting because we spend our holiday looking into our hearts as the new year starts for us and trying to discover that sense of possibility, that belief in our gifts and how we can share them, and a renewed commitment to dreams for a world of international peace. So I'm at the right place at the right time this morning. Thank you for all you do. We're very excited. Thank you, as you would say, Dr. Stifler, and shalom.
Okay, so now we get to do something really fun that we've never done before, is we're going to present a Peacemaker of the Year Award from the Peoria Rotary Club. And I need some help up here with that, so I'm going to ask my club president, Cheryl Lee Downs, to join me, and also our district governor, Nancy Van Pelt, if you would join me up here also as we do this. And before we get right to the details, Nancy, do you have anything you want to share with us? Anything at all?
I just want to congratulate everyone involved in this collaborative effort, the newcomers to this project, the people who made this project a reality, to Chuck and the Peoria Rotary Club for your incredible efforts, and thank you from the bottom of my heart on behalf of the Rotary District 5495 for all you do to make our community peaceful.
All right, thank you, Nancy. Shirley, anything? Okay. All right, very good. So, what is it? What's it like to get this Peacemaker Award? What are the rules? Are there rules for something like that? Of course, there are rules for something like that. So, we only have 2 criteria. The first criteria is the award recipient must serve the citizens of Peoria. right? So that's number one. Number two is what Lauren told us. It's that quote. It's the quote from Robert Fulghum, right? You probably didn't know that as you were giving that quote, did you? But to refresh your memory on what it is, this person, this nominee, must model this quote. And the quote is, "Peace is not something you wish for. Peace is something you make, something you are, something you do, and something you give away." So, I guess I should just get to it. So we have a beautiful award here that says Peoria Rotary Club's Peacemaker 2017. And we are so honored and proud to present the inaugural Peacemaker of the Year Award to Officer David Fernandez.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So everybody get in
Let's all get in. Where do you want us?
Right here?
David, you're in the shade.
Yeah.
Good.
You need to get
Right, just a little bit. There we go.
All right, that's better, lots better. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, no.
You're welcome to.
Most of you know how much I love to speak in public, so I'm going to avoid that. I'll just say thank you very much. I know how much it takes to put all this together, and I want to thank you. This means a lot to me. Thanks.
Utmost respect for Officer Fernandez. He does incredible work here on the Centennial High School campus and for our community. So wonderful choice indeed. Well, since it is International Day of Peace, it's very fitting that we have, on behalf of the City of Peoria, Mayor Kathy Carlott, we're welcoming Council Member Michael Finn, who has a proclamation to read on behalf of the Mayor. Mr. Finn.
Thank you very much. The mayor apologizes for not being able to be here, but when I had an opportunity to come to Centennial, I obviously jumped on it. I am not shy about being a Coyote fan. Live and die, Centennial Coyotes. Love them to death. Before I get started, I'm going to keep it brief because I know that the heat kind of crept up on us here a little bit. But Daniel, did you go to Paseo Verde? Yeah. So I remember listening to Daniel when he was in 7th and 8th grade play that thing, and I remember thinking to myself, my goodness, this kid can never get better. And I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. That was amazing. You should have heard him in 7th and 8th grade. It was ridiculous. But he's gotten better, which is just miraculous. So before I read this proclamation, I do want to just acknowledge the work that the Rotary Club has done. In my mind, this right here represents the difference between living in a city and being part of a community. That's what makes the city of Peoria be a community and what we are. So I want to thank everybody, thank Peoria PD. If you had an opportunity, you caught him out of the corner of your eye, you might have noticed that not one person rolled up here without Officer Fernandez making eye contact and knowing exactly what they were here for. So Peoria PD does an amazing job every single day out there. Appreciate it. But this is Peace Day, and I'm going to read this proclamation verbatim. It is riddled with whereases, capped off with a now therefore. So as I'm reading this, I'm reading it verbatim on behalf of Kathy Carlott. So we'll get started. Whereas the Rotary Club of Peoria, through its volunteer community leaders and its affiliation with 33,000 Rotary Clubs worldwide, is dedicated to improving the quality of life for all people in communities near and far. And whereas the Rotary Club of Peoria believes every act of service helps to build peace in families, schools, businesses, and communities. And whereas the Rotary Club of Peoria believes in the capacity and capability of young people in our community to take leadership roles now and in the future for building peace through service, dialogue, goodwill, and understanding. And whereas the Rotary Club of Peoria is equipping students through the Peoria Peace Initiative with the tools needed to think, speak, and act towards peaceful outcomes in all of the relationships and on their school campuses. And whereas the Rotary Club of Peoria, in collaboration with the Centennial Rotary Interact Club, has created a space in the Centennial High School campus where students, faculty, and the community can explore peace together. And whereas the Rotary Club of Peoria is in partnership with the Peoria Unified School District to expand the Peoria Peace Initiative into additional elementary and high schools. And last whereas, the citizens of the city of Peoria all wish to live in peace within their own homes, their own neighborhoods, and throughout this beautiful city. Now therefore I, Michael Finn, on behalf of Kathy Carlett, Mayor of the City of Peoria and the State of Arizona, do hereby proclaim September 21st, 2017 as Rotary Peace Day in Peoria, Arizona, and urge all citizens to recognize, applaud, and join the efforts of this organization and its partners as it elevates the conversation on peace throughout the City of Peoria and beyond. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Council Member, for your support of our district, of our city, and this community. We appreciate it. Well, I think the heat is starting to set in, but I hope you will join us as we conclude our ceremony today. We do have some refreshments for you. A big thank you to the culinary arts students here at Centennial High School for preparing those for us, and to the Peoria Rotary Club. Chuck, we cannot thank you and your fellow Rotarians enough for your support and for joining us in celebrating this wonderful day. We appreciate you and all that you do so much. So thank you, Centennial, for having us here today. And on behalf of our school district and Centennial High School's campus, we thank you for joining us, and we wish you a wonderful day of peace as you go forward for the rest of your day. Please do join us for our refreshments.